Today I'm going to be giving you the rundown about all the need-to-know answers about an upcoming game called The Ascent. This game will be released July 29th of this year. It is being released by a fairly new studio called Neon Giant. It will be free on Game Pass for Xbox and PC. Currently it's on sale for the next 13 days in the Microsoft Store for $26.99 before tax. As far as crossplay goes, the game will feature crossplay between Xbox and PC. PlayStation is not going to have access to it. Sorry, PlayStation players. Game will also feature local co-op and couch split screen. You can also drop in other friends or players' worlds. Nothing was stated if the host can turn their world private or invite only, but I'd assume the host would have that feature. Don't quote me that it will, just assuming. Loot acquired in co-op, any player will keep any level progression and loot acquired, but only the host will gain mission or quest progression. So you can drop in on anybody's game, you can play with friends, but if you beat a mission in a friend's game who's host, you beat a mission in their world, and you haven't beat it yet, when you go back to your world, while you'll keep any level progression and items, you will not have beat that mission in your world. So touching a little bit more on the worlds, the Ascent will be featured in a cyberpunk-filled world. As far as you start on the bottom of the society ladder and you work your way up, there's many conversations, characters to interact with. Battles can be fought, some battles can be avoided by not engaging. But overall, the gameplay, the actual engagements, will have more of a feel of a cross between Van Helsing and Diablo. If you're not familiar with Van Helsing, just think of Diablo. Difficulty, there will be only one set difficulty. Difficulty will be a set value for 1 player, 2 player, 3 players, and 4 players co-op. Playing 4 players won't be 4 times harder than playing solo, but enemies will have increased health and deal increased damage. 4 player difficulty will be harder than 3, 3 will be harder than 2. Classes, there's no set classes, so you can't pick like a barbarian or a ranger or anything at the start. The way you're actually going to define your class is by the weapon, gears, and abilities that you equip and how you put points into your class. So you can basically make your class whatever you want it to be. Weapon types, the weapon types in the games are primarily ranged, but with the exception of shotguns, which are much more effective at point blank to near point blank range. While there will be many pistols, shotguns, rifles, there will also be some big heavy weapons that you can play with. And you're also going to have some abilities called augmentations, which give you powers you can use. It doesn't say, I couldn't find anything about how many you can equip at one point in time, but there are going to be several in the game that you can play with. As far as the gameplay goes, there will be 15 to 20 hours is the estimated time by the developers to complete all main missions. More if you do the side missions, which the developers stated there will be many side missions. That is their words, many side missions. Did not clarify how many extra side missions there will be. They were also asked about future DLC, but while they did not deny future DLC, I got the impression this game will most likely not have any future DLC. Could be wrong. Acquiring loot or gear. You can acquire loot by RNG of enemy kills or drops, and also through chests and locations in missions. Cool note about the loot and gear in every item, it's going to have a custom tailored name. So every piece of gear has its own name, which is, I think, pretty cool. Enemies carrying certain items like miniguns will have the potential to drop miniguns, while other enemies not carrying miniguns will have no drop chance to drop a minigun. So the drop rates are going to be based off the type of enemy that you kill. Every enemy will have its own drop potential. You can also buy items in shops and get rewards for beating side missions. Through my search, I couldn't find any confirmation of a respect system, but there will be unlimited levels that you can obtain. So if you wanted, you'd eventually have max stats in all the categories. I'll also be doing a suggested points video on how you can build into some different builds early. I'll be doing that within the first week of the... Oddly enough, on the boss fights, they claim there will only be a handful of boss fights, but they say there will be many mini bosses to face. So it looks like for like the big boss fights, we're not going to have many of those. But it seems like every side mission pretty much is going to have a mini boss. There's going to be a lot of mini bosses. The game will run on Unreal Engine, and from watching gameplay on a 4K monitor, it did look impressive, especially for a $30 game. I'm looking forward to actually playing on my Series X and HDR TV and seeing what it looks like firsthand. But I was also reading comments to get other people's perspective, and everybody else who commented on the environment, it was a positive comment. There were no negative comments about what they were seeing, so seems like other people had the same opinion on the graphics as I did. The frame rate, the Ascent can handle 4K 60 frames per second on the Xbox Series X. While I couldn't find any confirmation they achieved this goal, not that goal, but the goal I'm about to mention, they did say they were aiming for 60 frames per second and 1440p for the Series X, 4K 30 frames per second for the Xbox One X, and 900p for the Xbox One. It seems like it will be 4K 60 frames per second for the Xbox Series X. And this interview that I actually got this information about the frame rate off was several months ago, so hopefully they did obtain those numbers for the other gens. And that is all the information for all the common questions and information that I think is relevant for anybody considering the game at the moment. I'll also be including several links, or at least a couple links of gameplay, starting at the top with the one I liked the best. There was only one gameplay video I really liked, and I'll include a couple others as well. But that's the rundown of all the need-to-know information for the upcoming game, the Ascent. Once again, that's being released on July 29th of this year and is currently on sale. Will be free on Game Pass on Xbox and PC. I'm not getting paid at all by the companies. This is just some information for you. But if you have any questions that I didn't answer, feel free to ask them. And if I do know the answer, I will let you know. I hope that helps.